Hi. So this afternoon I went and looked at one, two, three, four different places. First place I looked at, so four different secondhand shops, just secondhand shops, not secondhand music stores. So one was first one that I went to was a hospice shop, which is the biggest one in this area, and they do all CDs for 50 cents. And the two I got at the hospice shop, the first one was this one here, a Dusty Springfield um, retrospective. What do you want to call it? Greatest hits, I guess. What it doesn't actually say. I could probably said something under that. See the original price. This was bought at Sounds. I've talked about Sounds Music Store before. They were the largest music chain in New Zealand. They don't exist anymore, but for a good 20, 30 years, they would be found pretty much every mall, shopping area in every city in the country. Amazing how quickly things change, eh? So this was $30, and I guess this probably came out, I would guess, in the early 2000s just by looking at it. Trying to see if I can see a date anywhere around here. 1998 says down here. And and also had a 30% off sticker when they bought it. And it's a Universal Remasters of the Universe. Remasters of the Universe. Get it? Masters of the Universe, Remasters. The very best of Dusty Springfield. So I've always liked Dusty Springfield. I like her voice. And we were, I only want to be with you in private. I just don't know what to do with myself. What have I done to deserve this? That one that she did with the Pet Shop Boys, that version. Wishing and hoping. I like that one. So yeah, just like I said, a kind of career retrospective of Dusty Springfield's biggest hits. Um, I don't know that much about her personally, like as in, I remember I watched it, I half watched, look, his name's Johnny Rogan, whoever wrote that. Not Joe Rogan, but Johnny Rogan. I remember half watched a documentary about her one night. It's been about 20 years ago. I was doing something, and in the background there was a TV documentary about Dusty Springfield. I remember there was something that she had something to do with the boycott of apartheid South Africa. Like she refused. This was a time, I guess, in the '60s where Western musicians were still going to South Africa and performing there. This was before the embargo and the large scale boycotts that came in the more in the '70s and '80s. But she was kind of an early adopter of refusing to perform in South Africa. But I think she died quite young. If I No, actually not that young. She died in 1999, so she would have been about 60, I guess. 59. She was 59. Um, and yeah, so yeah, just a kind of something I don't really. I think I've got a Burt Bacharach or a couple of Burt Bacharach compilations where she features on some of those, but I don't have any actual Dusty Springfield stuff itself. So that was 50 cents. The other one that was 50 cents was not that one. I think it was that one. Was it that one? Wasn't that one? Wasn't that one? No, it was that one. No, I doubt anyone watching this is going to know who these guys are. Slim were a New Zealand alternative rock band of the late 90s, early 2000s. I would guess this probably came out in that time period. 2001 on Wildside. Wildside are a New Zealand record label. I guess it's an imprint on one of the big ones, like Universal or Warner's or something. Wildside was Murray Kamak's label, and Murray Kamak, he had a lot to do with a lot of the kind of the rock, hard rock, metal, alternative rock that came out in the 90s. Like I think Wildside put out some Shehad releases, I'm pretty sure. Head Like a Hole, other bits and pieces like that. It says here he was also involved with the Dead Flowers, Belter Space. Like I said, Head Like a Hole, Shehad. These are all pretty. If you lived in New Zealand in that time period, they were kind of the big acts of that kind of music. Um, So yeah, so Slim, I remember them being on the radio a bit. And to be honest, I can't actually remember. I'm sure when I put this on, a lot of the songs, I go, oh, I remember that song, I remember that song. But off the top of my head, I can't remember it. I remember Bullet in My Hand. Definitely remember that one. Um, I kind of just got this because even though I wasn't the hugest fan of theirs, it's in very good condition. B, I try to get a lot of the stuff from that period. I've talked about it before, especially kind of the 90s. I try to pick up a lot of that stuff, even if I'm not the hugest fan of it. Um, and I think yeah. Anyway, I got it. It was 50 cents. So if I don't like it, I can always resell it or something like that, or give it back to charity. Okay, so those two were 50 cents. I paid for that with a gold $1 coin. Then I went to another place, and the first place, so I went to another three places. The first two had nothing: the Red Cross store and the St. John store. And then I went to I think it's Habitat for Humanity store, and they've recently reorganized. They've got actually a much bigger CD section than they used to, and they also they also reduced their prices. They used to do $2 per CD, which was always, it's just like they'd put a uniform $2. Whereas some stores, they'll do individual pricing, and if something's worth $2, they'll put $2 on it. And I usually agree with the $2 pricings at these stores, but this place was just $2 for everything, and some of it was just trash. And so I actually rarely bought stuff before, but they've reduced all CDs to $1 across the board. And it's still a bit hit and miss, but they had some interesting stuff there. This first one is still sealed, never been opened, so it's brand new condition. And this is something I know nothing about, but I did a quick Google while I was in the store of the name Jun Miyake. And Jun Miyake is a composer and has done a lot of kind of smaller independent film scores and kind of experimental music. I read for like about 20 seconds. I didn't go in depth, but just from that brief stuff I kind of did by scanning his some of the Google results, it looked quite interesting. The kind of stuff that I would usually like. So it says here, this is done together with the Bulgarian Symphony Orchestra and voices of Bulgaria Choir, including bonus tracks from the Oscar-nominated Wim Wenders film Pina. And this is, called Stolen from Strangers. So I really have no idea what that's going to sound like or what it's going to be like, but I think I'm quite hopeful. I've usually got a pretty good radar for kind of stuff that just by looking at it and the names and the kind of some of the things associated with it, that I can usually guess that I'm going to like something. Sometimes I'm wrong, but that was $1. Pretty good for a brand new CD, still sealed. The next one, this is a band I've heard of for maybe the last 15 years. I've heard this name pop up, Anathema. Now, in my mind, if someone said to me before I picked this up today, if someone said, do you know the band Anathema? I'd say, well, I've heard of them before. And if they say, well, what kind of music they do? I say, well, I think they do kind of metal, like symphonic progressive metal. And so I said, where are they from? I would say, I think they're from the Netherlands or Sweden or somewhere like Northern Europe generally. But when I looked at the CD itself, the artwork and the inlay and everything, and also the record label, because usually if it's that kind of music I was just referencing, there's certain kind of record labels that come up again and again, like Inside Out and Century Media and Earache and Candlelight and things like that. But this Roadrunner, K-Scope, I've never heard of before. So I did a quick Google just to check that it was the band I was thinking of, but I'm still not 100% sure if it is the band I was thinking of. But it did say some of the things, like they said progressive rock, post-rock, so maybe I'm getting my wires crossed. But yeah, so this is K-Scope. This is interesting. I didn't see this before. This is this is the record label they're on, and this is some of the other releases on it. So there's Anathema. See if I know any of those other ones. Tesseract, I've heard of them. They toured with Devin Townsend, I remember, and he kind of big up them a lot. Stephen Wilson, I know him. I'm a big fan of Stephen Wilson. Pink Floyd. Gavin Harrison, he was also in Porcupine Tree with Stephen Wilson, I think. Speaking of Porcupine Tree, so these all look quite. Oh, Oliver. I like Oliver, although they release a lot, and they almost one of those bands that release so much that sometimes it can be hard to separate the wheat from the chaff with those guys. And I want to say Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull. See if I recognize any other. Steve Hogarth, he's the current vocalist in Marillion. Catatonia, Swedish doom progressive metal band. Okay, so yeah, those releases kind of do fit in with what I imagine Anathema to be. Maybe I imagine them to be a little bit more on the metal side as opposed to the prog side, but regardless, I think that should be interesting to listen to, and not something I would ever expect to find in a secondhand shop. So yeah, I'm pretty happy to find it for $1, and it's in very good condition. It's in one of these shitty slipcase, whatever you call cardboard things that they do nowadays that I can't stand, that don't age well. But this one looks in particularly good condition for a 2017 release. The next one, Devilskin. Devilskin are a New Zealand rock band. Beyond that, I don't know much else about them. The reason why I know them is because I've seen their name up for posters around the city for live performances, but the main reason is probably when I first arrived back in New Zealand about 3 years ago, I was listening to the radio one day, the local rock station. It's called The Rock. Very creative. And there was a song that came on, and I thought it was quite catchy and quite interesting. It had kind of a lot of just straightforward rock nowadays, modern releases. If it was just in the genre rock, even though I'm a fan of rock music, modern rock, I'd say I almost don't like. It's always, I don't know, it's too much towards, how can I can't even really explain what it is about it. It has this kind of, the stuff that came out of post-grunge. I think I'm going to trip over myself trying to explain this too much because I don't know enough about it. Yeah, I think I'll avoid talking about it, but maybe I'll come back to it in another video. But anyway, I think these guys would be classed as that. However, the song that I heard was actually quite interesting. So this was again 3 years ago. What do you call it? I Shazammed it. You know, the app Shazam, where if a song is playing on the radio or whatever, you can open the app and it can listen to the song through the app, and it will identify what the music is. And so I Shazammed it, and it came up as Devilskin. I was like, okay, and I never actually investigated any further, but I'd see their name pop up from time to time. And today I saw one of their CDs in the shop, Devilskin We Rise, and I thought, okay, well, here's a chance to listen to something more. It's only $1. And yeah, what's the worst that could happen? Well, the worst that could happen is it could be absolute fucking garbage, but, you know, with this many CDs, there's always going to be some garbage amongst it, isn't there? Yeah, I can't really say much else about it beyond that because, like I said, I really don't know anything about them. But maybe if I like it, it will open a new window into a local band that I could perhaps enjoy. Elvis Presley's Circle Pit is the name of the first song. It's interesting. The next thing I got was Michael Jackson's, I think his last album, at least his last full album release, because he had that posthumous one, didn't he? But this came out in 2001, I'm pretty sure. I'm just quickly doing a side search as I'm talking about this. And this is an album that I don't actually know much about. But I'm trying to get the whole Michael Jackson discography on compact disc if possible. I have Thriller. I'm trying to look beside me where they are. I know I have Thriller and Dangerous. I also have a Greatest Hits collection. Do I have Bad? I don't think I have Bad. Um, what was the one between Dangerous and this? Oh, History. I've got History as well. Where the hell are they? I'm looking in the M section next to me, and I can't see Michael Jackson. So the way I organize my CDs is by first name. I don't put Michael Jackson J Jackson. I put him in the M for Michael. J Jimi Hendrix, so on and so forth. I can't. I don't know. I'm probably looking by anyway. So I'm slowly trying to find the whole all the Michael Jackson CDs if I can. This looks like the booklet's been water damaged, which is a surprisingly common thing I find with these secondhand CDs is the amount of shit that's been water damaged. I guess people put things in their well, in New Zealand we don't really have basements. In their garage, I guess. And we had quite big floods in my city at the beginning of this year. And I guess it's a very rainy city where I come from, so I guess flooding does happen, maybe more than the average city. But look at this. Someone has used Biro pen to cross out words. What? That is weird. What have they crossed out? Something your cameras can't control. Cause your cameras to get the message across. Is this showing up on the camera? To get the message across that yet haven't heard. I guess that's you. They've just crossed out random words that have no. That's kind of creepy. Maybe a sign of kind of some break with reality there. People crossing out trying to find codes and messages and written text. So anyway, actually, I was going to see if this is the last album, wasn't I? I'll quickly do that. Michael Jackson discography. Off the Wall Thriller, Bad, Dangerous, History. Okay, this is his last. I guess while he was alive, because I'm pretty sure they released an album. I'm sure there's a posthumous album, wasn't there? Is this it, or was it? Is that what it's called? This is it. The one that came along with the movie. Oh, fuck it, I can't find it. Anyway, appears to be his last album from 2001, 8 years before he died. The last thing I bought, it was actually not a CD. This is a CD-ROM. I bought this for a very specific nostalgic, I don't know what else to call reasons. I don't know, this era of Microsoft Home. This is from about 94, 95. We got our first family computer in 1995 when I was about 14 or 15, which is quite late compared to the rest of the people, my friends or my school and stuff. By that stage, everyone had a computer. We were kind of like one of the last families to get a computer, but we got one. And it came with all a bunch of, they'll throw in lots of stuff. I mean, we got Microsoft Encarta, Microsoft Publisher, Microsoft Works, some Microsoft screensaver package of extreme sports like bungee jumping and mountain climbing and shit. And we never had this one, but I remember we had a catalog, a brochure of all the different ones. Like there was all sorts of stuff you get on CD-ROM, and I always wanted to get more. Now I don't even have a CD-ROM drive. I doubt any computers come with CD-ROM drives anymore. So I don't know how I'm going to get this to work, but maybe that's kind of a sub-collection that I would like to have. I'm running out of time here, so I kind of can't talk about this in depth, but there's kind of like this, I have a sentimentality towards certain eras of my life. You might have picked that up in some of the music I talk about, some of the eras that I focus on. But yeah. Anyway, that was $1 as well. So yeah, not bad. All right, we'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching.